To my Moving Memphis Forward family, we wanted to take an opportunity on this day is to give you an opportunity to have a recap of our past Moving Memphis Forward initiative conversations. I want to personally thank the politicians that are elected and appointed for your time of giving great information to the community. Community, I encourage you to listen and respond how we all can move Memphis forward. And the only way we can do that is to moving Memphis forward together. Enjoy the recap of an amazing meeting that we had for moving Memphis forward together. Make sure you're following all things moving Memphis forward with Dr. Talisa Franklin.
Time they didn't have to.
So what we're going to do now, because I do believe before any of our panel speak, I want them to tell one thing that they have gotten accomplished since they have been leading the charge. And so, because I do believe, if anybody don't mean, I'm tired of seeing people that talk good, but don't do the work behind the scenes. It's one thing to be in the camera, but it's another thing if you're at the table truly representing the community. And so I want to start with you, Commissioner Larry. I want you to give one thing that you have done while you've been in the office that has really been able to make Memphis a better place.
Well, thank you. Test. All right. Well, thank you so much. And thank you all for being here. You would just say one thing. I want to name more than one, but I won't. I'll try to follow the rules because a lot of things you don't do just in a vacuum. You need support. I sit on the county commission. You need 7 votes to get things done, and sometimes you got to help determine how to make those decisions to get done. But since you just told me one, I'm just going to say it. I'm going to go with the high school in Fraser. I was extremely proud when that vote was cast. That was a lot of hard work along the way. Commissioner Boyle, Stephanie Love, been leading that charge for a long time. But that eventually came to us. We're going to keep it here, see, we're going to keep it right here. But that eventually came to the county commission to get done. We haven't had a new high school in that area, obviously, for decades, and that's going to change culture. So I'll leave it at that one. I want to name more, but I'll leave it at that one.
Thank you, Commissioner Larry. Councilwoman Logan. Good evening, everyone. So glad to see everybody. Thank you for the opportunity, Dr. Franklin. I'm going to say passing legislation and allocating dollars to protect our neighborhoods. The latest one we did was $1 million, right at $1 million to extend our legal department so that we can end the bottlenecking that we're seeing in environmental court and with cases that address vacant properties, blighted properties in our neighborhoods where we live. And so that was one of the things that I ran on was protecting neighborhoods and providing safety and cleanness where we live, where we lay our heads. So that's very important. And we've done quite a bit of legislation and allocated quite a bit of money to make certain that where we live and raise our families are clean and safe. Rep. Parkinson.
Thank you. And I'll try to stick to the script also. But I do want to say this. I am the highest output Democratic House member in the state of Tennessee in regards to passing legislation and getting money into our budget so that we can get money back to Memphis and Shelby County. One of the bills I'll just talk about is one that we talked about recently is House Bill 1050, where we passed legislation that would streamline the nuisance business laws and the nuisance residential laws. It's not just for business. So if you have a certain amount of criminal acts that happen at a business, then it automatically is deemed a nuisance business and can be boarded up and shut down. But it works for residential also because, in most of our communities are good, 98, 99% of them, people in our community are great people. But you got that one house. We know which house it is, right? Y'all not just nod your head. The ones that are not nodding their heads, that's their house. I'm just kidding. But we know what that house is, and what this legislation does it allows you to remove those individuals and board that house up or you know, get it cleaned up and get the people out of there, out of your communities and neighborhoods. So thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Not you, Chief, you ready to get your home. Thank you. I love you though, I really do. I really do. Chairwoman, the beautiful Shantae Bates.
Thank you, Dr. Franklin. You know, there's many different pieces of what makes communities really viable communities, right? So all of us who live out here in Cordova, one of, I think, the most important things for us is how do we keep our community safe? How do we keep our property values up? How do we have good schools? How do we have great assets that are a part of this community? In my day job, I serve as president and CEO of the Women's Foundation for Greater Memphis. So my work has really been built on how are you creating community, not only through the people who live in those communities, but also the organizations that support the people who live in those communities. And so some of the things that are really important to me are how we support some of those organizations. We have created some opportunities with grants that we have provided to some key organizations that are doing some services here. We all know and have seen, even in this community, the number of unhoused that are living in the Cordova area. You see them at the intersections, you see them loitering around different places. And so one thing that was really important to me is how we supported our unhoused and continue to get them services that can help them get to the resources they need. But also, we don't want to see them at the intersection and the corners because it does create a sense of unsafeness for the folks who live in our communities. And so creating a $1 million grant to the Hospitality Hub, which provided some services to the folks that we are seeing in our everyday communities. We don't want to throw folks away. We want to make sure they have the resources that they need. I think it's also important to talk about the advocacy that we, and I appreciate Commissioner Lowry, who has supported in the advocacy for a new high school that will be in the East Region. So that's our Cordova High School. As many of you may know, the Germantown schools have decided that the kids who go to those schools are no longer able, if you're not a Germantown resident, to attend those schools. Well, of the 2,100 students, about 1,900 of them live in Cordova. And so we need a school that helps to educate the kids who live in this community. So advocacy for that particular high school is one of the things that I'm also very proud of. And I'll turn it back over to you, Dr. Franklin.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Senator London Lamar, will you tell us one thing that you did that has made a difference in our state, in our city?
Sure. Hey everyone, I'm Senator London Lamar, representing Senate District 33, which is predominantly Southeast Shelby County. So if you think about starting at the airport, everything under 240 till Bahelli Road and Carterville was above 240 is also Orange Mound and University of Memphis area. So it's about 1/5 of the county. And I serve as your Senate Democratic Caucus Chair, leading the political arm of the Senate Democrats. But outside of being a Memphian and advocating for education and healthcare, one of the main topics I focus on is maternal health. And so, as you know, Tennessee has the highest maternal mortality rate in the country right now, according to the CDC, with the highest rates coming out of right here in Shelby County, where our women, especially Black women, are dying at 3 times the rate of the national average. And so we have a crisis. And when I think about the city of Memphis and some of the issues we're having with our youth, is because they never had a fair shot at the womb. And so when we make sure we're taking care of families from the beginning, we're making sure we're setting up for a lifetime success. So one thing I am proud of is I got $1 million in the governor's budget for a doula pilot program, giving underprivileged women a doula, and all of those women had healthy birth rate babies. And so my goal this year is to finish getting my bill through the House to allow doulas to have a verification so they can get insurance reimbursement. And in that way, they are really fairies. And in that way, we can help start bringing down the numbers of maternal mortality, infant mortality deaths here in Shelby County by making sure all women, regardless of your income, your background, your race, or any of those factors, you have someone there with you to help you through the pregnancy process to give our kids a fighting chance from the very start. Thank you.
Councilwoman Yolanda Cooper-Sutton.
Thank you. It's an honor and an absolute blessing to be here tonight. I got lost. I rode by this this place twice. And so I'm grateful that I'm here. I am Councilwoman Cooper Sutton. I serve half of the city of Memphis. I am an at-large district, which is Super District 8-3. And I serve very closely with our single district members, which is Pearl Walker, Janice Virgin, Washington. I serve very closely with Edmund Ford Sr., and I also serve very closely with Michael Easter Thomas. So I've been sitting in this seat for 1 year, 10 months, and 11 days. And I work very closely with my colleague down there, Councilwoman Logan. And so Memphis is very, 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 very important to me. I'm a transplant here. Been here for almost 30 years, almost 30, close to 30, so I've been told I can't say that anymore. I'm a true Memphian now. And so my goal, are we telling each other about ourselves? Is that what we're doing? What we doing?
That's it. Your best.
Okay, I'm done.
Same thing. Okay. All right, y'all. And now, Chief Buckner, that we know that Sheriff Bonner was unable to be here, so we're grateful to have you here. But I want you, because many people are very concerned about this Memphis Safe Task Force. Many people don't really understand what's going on. And so since you are here, many people are afraid, but I'm so grateful that many of you all came out tonight. So can you give us some high-level highlights to make sure the people truly understand what's going on? And then I will say this, if you have questions, please complete these, and we're going to read the questions out so that we can get as many people's questions answered as possible. This is the way that we do it, all right? Thank you, Chief Buckner.
No, thank you so much for having me. So good evening, everyone. All right. So actually, in my opinion, the Memphis Safe Task Force actually started in June. And I'll just kind of rewind the clock a little bit. If you remember, around May, the FBI Director, Cash Patel, makes a statement on the news announcing Memphis as being the most dangerous city in the United States. About a month later, I had a meeting with a special agent in charge of the ATF who was in Memphis and was kind of unpacking a strategy to start doing some undercover operations here in the city of Memphis that was going to last for a couple of months. And after that period of time, they were going to start dropping some indictments and executing some search warrants. And so that's why I backed the clock back up to around May or June when it actually first started. So now in our community, if you haven't heard already, we have north of 600 or 700 federal agencies and agents that's here inside the city of Memphis partnering with local law enforcement. And so for the past 2 weeks, every single day, for 24 hours a day, officers have been boots on the ground along with the Tennessee Highway Patrol and TBI, making traffic stops, executing search warrants, as well as arrest warrants. And so obviously one of my greatest concerns about the operation has been jail population and how we will address that. And so we've been able to move probably more than 200 state inmates from our facility to the state penitentiary, which is where they should have been anyway. But then also some who've been held for violation of parole, they've also been moved to the state penitentiary. And we're in the progress now of trying to work out a partnership or a deal with the state where we can take about 300 of our pretrial detainees and move them to the state penitentiary as well. I was a little concerned because over the weekend we had about 333 inmates in our intake area. Let me say it again, 333 inmates in our intake area just designed to house about 60. And so we were in a crisis mode over the weekend, and so we had some very pointed and aggressive conversations late Sunday night to try to move more of these inmates out. And so that's what's been keeping me up late at night. When we first started meeting with the federal officials, they talked about in DC conducting 3,000 arrests in about 42 days. 3,000 arrests in 42 days. We have about 3,000 inmates in custody right now, and to take in another 3,000, that's a very, very difficult challenge to try to face. So that's pretty much the cliff notes and the high points of the task force. Some questions come out like, well, how much longer are they going to be here? We have not gotten that information. I know they are still in DC to some level. I don't think it's at the level that they were at 2 weeks in, but they're still in D.C. And so we don't know if they're going to stay in Memphis for the next several months or into 2026. So that's yet to be discussed.
Thank you so much. I really, okay, and stay.
Thank you. I just want to piggyback off of Chief on the surge that's happening. And I think it's important, and let me thank Talisa Franklin for doing this, because I think it's vitally important that we make sure that you all get the facts, because there's so much misinformation that's being spread around there. Like somebody stole the wheels off the tank and all of this stuff. It's a lot of stuff out there, a lot of rhetoric out there. There are no tanks. There are no tanks coming. The National Guard, I think, will be here on Friday. They're not here yet. So people are saying that the National Guard is here. They're not here. I think the maximum, and this is based on me meeting with the governor and having these discussions. I think the maximum number of National Guardsmen that we're going to have is right at about 145 or 150. Is that what you're getting also?
Today.
Yeah. And there are 3 shifts. There's 8 hours times 3 in a 24-hour day. So you might see 50 rather, National Guardsmen, in all of, I think, what are we, 360 square miles of a city?
The city of Memphis.
Yeah, so if you see them, you might be lucky to go up and shake their hand. And then the last part that's important to note is they're unarmed. They're not going to be armed. National Guard will not be armed here, and they will not be arresting anyone. And so, they're coming in the National Guard now. It's coming into our states, I'd say, a lot softer than they are going into other states. Now, so with that, understand that the National Guard is not the story. The National Guard is not the story. There are probably another, I would say, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, another 900 people that have come in suits and other things other than fatigues. That's the FBI, ATF, DEA, and some other alphabets, TBI, 300 members of Tennessee Highway Patrol, and so on and so forth. And that is the story. That is the real part of the surge. But you hear everybody hyping up National Guard, National Guard, National Guard, but that is not the case. That's not the story. Also, lastly, and I think it's important to note, I'm a Democrat, but I lay the credit where the credit is due. In our conversation with the governor, I talked to them. They said, they may be here 60 days, possibly 90 days, right? So I said, how much is it costing us to, provide this surge, right? And he said it's about $1 million a day. And so in that, I said, well, after when they leave, and of course, if let me say this the right way. So of course, if there's a tinge for my country folks of a drop in crime, the president's gonna run a victory lap, right? Right? Okay, and that's fine. That's fine. We want crime down, even if it's a tinge. We want it down, Chief. Now, what happens after they pull out? So I said, if it's costing $1 million a day at 90 days, we're looking at almost $90 million. So we need to expect that budget from the Fed so that we can continue, air quotes, the president's victory lap. That make sense? And then 4 days later, I don't know if he took it from me or if he was already planning. 4 days later, he announced that they're dropping $100 million in grants for crime prevention and crime reduction into the city of Memphis specifically. So
Representative, and I want to piggyback on what you're saying. I think it is important for us to put context with where we are and what we're doing. All the alphabet that are here, there are a lot of them. In the last report, I think it actually was about 1,300 personnel that are currently in Memphis to support all of those multiple, 31 different agencies.
Right.
31. And, but in this time, they have arrested 562 people. And 11 children have been recovered that were missing. So what we want to do is really focus on how we are working with them, and I commend, I think that first meeting we were in maybe a week and a half ago, that Friday evening, where we were discussing all the aspects of how this needs to work in our community. We need to be thinking about how we utilize this to best benefit our community if we know that there's no decision we can make about them coming or leaving, right? That's the best way for us to make sure that if they're going to get rid of violent criminals off the street, absolutely. Absolutely. If 11 children have been recovered, praise God. So I want us to focus on the positive ways in which we want to utilize the resources that are coming to this community. I want to thank State Representative Parkson and State Senator London Lamar for their advocacy in this way, but I also want to thank Sheriff Buckner and Deputy Sheriff Buckner, Floyd Bonner and Deputy Sheriff Buckner for all of the ways they're bringing conversations back to the state about the resources that need to be invested back into the city. Because it costs us. Every time that they go and arrest someone, it costs us to feed them at the jail. It costs us to transport them back and forth. So we want to make sure that we are also reimbursed for the resources, because that is a very heavy burden on the county, on us as taxpayers. So that's an important part of this conversation. I do appreciate Sheriff Bonner. He has been advocating in that way for us.
And let me just add a little bit about those numbers. So a similar operation was conducted probably about a month ago that lasted about 3 weeks, and I think we arrested, or the U.S. Marshals arrested about 400 people. That increased our food contract by $1 million. 400 people increased about $1 million. Now imagine 3,000 people and what that number is going to look like. So it costs us about $108 per day to house one inmate. And that's if there are no medical issues associated. That's literally just housing that per individual and feed them. $108 per day.
Councilwoman, and then Senator. Thank you. I also want to mention, listening to Chairwoman down there, made me think about the fact that the Mayor Young, I want to commend him as well for pulling us together. The council and the mayor's office have really been looking at this. We didn't ask for the troops, we didn't ask for the support, but we are welcoming it in the sense of enabling us to build capacity. Ever since I've been on council, we've been down. With MPD, we haven't had our complement. We've been looking for support, we've been needing it. I go to the grocery store, I hear people saying, what we're gonna do about crime. Every week you're gonna get emails and phone calls about crime, about blight, about the things that are affecting our daily lives and the quality of life. The crime it was like a war zone is what I was told by my constituents. And so being able to step back and look at the support that's coming, how do we best utilize this? How do we best work with and collaborate so that it can be a win-win for us as well? That's what we started doing from the very beginning. You hear a lot of negativity in the news or just naysayers, but we have to come together and decide how this is going to be a win-win for the citizens of Memphis and our communities. And that's what we are going to do. And that's what we've been doing at the city level. So, I really would encourage you all, even at the citizen level, to begin to talk to your relatives, talk to your little nephews and nieces and cousins, and how do we behave, how do we engage rather with those that are going to be in our community so it can be a win-win for us. But I did want to let you know that at the city level, the council and the mayor are working collaboratively to make sure that the areas in our communities roll up to the support that's here.
Thank you. I just wanted to add some more context to the increase in arrests and increase in numbers and some of the challenges you're going to see. Right now, it is understood that court is backed up. Well, I do want you to understand that the Republicans moved the crime lab out of Memphis to Jackson, Tennessee. So anytime you have to process evidence for any type of case, it has to go to Jackson, get in line, and the TBI just came out and said they are at capacity. They cannot process any new additional evidence. So we're seeing an increase in arrests for all of these crimes, but processing the evidence to actually try these people for the crimes they committed is light years behind the arrest rate. So you are seeing a problem where we're making a lot of arrests and, taking some folks off the street, but at the same time actually holding them responsible through the judicial system is somewhere the state has lacked. They have not put the funding back in the crime labs. They need to put the crime lab back in Memphis, Tennessee, so that we can actually have these trials and cases going forth faster. And they need to put more funding there too. So I do want to also be very clear, the same folks is blaming Memphis to be a crime-rich city have also taken the funding out to help eradicate and hold criminals accountable. So be very watchful and watch what they say.
Hey,
Absolutely.
I know we all got opinions and thoughts on this as well, and I know our state representatives are going to be very much advocates for us getting that funding as well. But we got to think about this as too, because while we're making arrests, and that's good, right? We need people to be held accountable. People need to know that. People need to feel safe. But also, what we need to make sure is that we are rehabilitating folks as well, right? Because there's nothing about our current jail facility right now that says anything about rehabilitation. Because one thing we know about arrests, folks will get arrested, but one day they're going to get back out. So we're not giving people the tools to change their lives, the ones who want to change their lives, and we should perpetuate the same cycle over and over again. So while we applaud arrests and things of that nature, making sure that we're getting criminals on the street, also one of these days we also give them the opportunity to be constituents and citizens again as well, and that's also our responsibility. So we gotta make sure we're doing those things.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So let's dive into these questions and making sure. So when I ask the question, whoever is asked to give us a high-level answer, but still where the people can understand, so that it is imperative to me to be the bridge in this, that everybody's voice matters. So I want to go through all of these questions. And so if you would just answer from a high level so that whoever asks this question can now walk away with an answer, because I'm all about solutions. This question is to you, Chief Buckner. What areas of Memphis are being targeted, and what level of offenses are people being arrested for?
So the short answer is D, all the above. There are a multitude of different type of operations that are happening. So from the perspective of drug arrests, so our narcotics unit is partnered with the DEA and ATF, and they're going out probably multiple times a day executing search warrants. So that's one part. And when they execute the search warrant, if they can take cases federal, so if you're finding convicted felons in possession of a handgun, you're finding drugs and a gun in the same place, we bring in the ATF to see if that case can be adopted by the federal system, which one, keeps that individual out of our jail, hopefully, but then two, it expedites the prosecution of that particular case. But then also there's the street level traffic enforcement, which is primarily being conducted by Tennessee Highway Patrol with some partnerships with the Memphis Police Department. And so from traffic stops, if they discover guns, and they are, I think so far they've recovered more than 100 illegal firearms during this 2-week process. But THP is primarily leading those particular operations. But then also we have deputies and U.S. Marshals and police officers that are going out with or looking for individuals who have been wanted. And as the chairwoman said, there have been a lot of bad people wanted for murder and rape and just unbelievable crimes that have been apprehended during this process. So from the search warrants to arrest warrants to traffic violations, everything is on the table during this process. So it depends on the agency, it depends on the time of day, but I can tell you everything and all types of crimes have been addressed.
Thank you so much. This is for Councilwoman Logan. What neighborhoods were served by the dollars allocated to protect these neighborhoods?
Yes, those would be based on the data. The administration pools the neighborhoods that have the highest crime rates, have the highest blight, and blight, you would look at that based on the 311 reports and the calls that come in through the mayor's office or through the council's office, those areas that have the highest numbers.
Thank you so much. This is addressed to the mayor. He's not here, so I'm going to ask City Council, either Logan or Cooper Sutton, to answer this. MLG&W is set to spend $1.5 billion over the next 5 years. What is the mayor and the city council doing to ensure that small businesses in Memphis participate in those dollars?
One of the things that we're doing is requiring that they put out those RFPs and requests for companies and small businesses to bid or to be able to apply for those, making certain that we are seeing who's getting those contracts. Now, the mayor has sole contracting authority, but we are, as a council, making certain that we're looking at every month, every week they come, every council period, or when they're going to spend money, they have to let us know who's getting the contracts, and we're able to keep up with that. Those holding them accountable are ways that we're doing that.
Councilwoman Yolanda, you have anything you want to say to that?
No, I think Councilwoman Logan answered.
Okay.
Please, I think she answered that.
All right, thank you. This question is addressed to education, so I would say Commissioner Otey and County Commission. You guys can answer this in two parts because I know it's and state. The money. Education. How can we move Memphis forward when our education is below national level? Poverty and crime directly correlate to each other. We, the parents, would like to have all members back on the ballot for 2026. Why are so many leaders against this important cause if it is not illegal and the constituents request it? Jump in.
Y'all want that?
I can start.
All right.
London,
You're ready.
Go ahead.
So I think it's challenging when you think about abridging people's terms. So that is why I'm not in favor of the school board elections happening in 2026. Folks who were elected by a democratic process. When you start to erode the democratic process, you are going down a very slippery slope. And I think for all of us, school board member Sabalote, I've had conversations with her. Every school board member who is a part of that board, we've had in-depth conversations. Don't think that the hard conversations don't happen because we don't come out and yell and scream. It isn't my nature, and so you never see me doing that. But do I have hard conversations? Do I have hard conversations with people? Yes. And so we need folks to be accountable. However, when you think about eroding a democratic process, people who were elected to an office, and you decide because you don't like the decision that they make, that you're going to make sure that they then cannot make those decisions, I think it really is a slippery slope. Even if you agreed or disagreed, they still have the power to make the decision.
You want to chime in?
Sure thing. And definitely, Commissioner Avon has definitely had several conversations with myself. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. I'm the school board commissioner for this area. My name is Sable Otey. And those schools include Cordova Elementary, Middle School, Macon Hall, Mount Pisgah, which is directly down the street. And we are addressing some issues that are very, very pertinent in today's society, and that includes literacy. I don't think that many of us have an in-depth enough conversation, and I apologize for my tardiness because I was actually speaking to some parents, and one of the things we were talking about was about the National Guard. And I said, I don't want to give you misinformation. I would encourage you to come to this event here so that you can learn more about what the National Guard is here for, what the purpose is, and what are some things that we can actually do to educate our students, because some of our students are nervous, and so I wanted to encourage them to come to all the Moving Memphis Forward events. But the issue is more than 50% of Americans are not reading above 6th grade level. Many people don't know that. So you look at adults that cannot read above 6th grade level, more than 50%. This is a national statistic. This is not a Memphis statistic, and people don't know that because we're not talking about those things. Why do we have crime in Memphis? Why are some of our students not achieving? We just heard Commissioner Lowry talk about mental health support. A lot of our students have mental health issues. I have family members myself that have that. Poverty is crazy, right? How can you survive if you're not getting a livable wage? We need jobs to pay our parents more so they can provide more for our students. You have students that are missing school because they have to go and work so they can put food on the table for their siblings.
right? These are things that we don't see or we're not talking about. We're not talking about the deficits in healthcare. Right now, everybody's on lockdown. We have some people that are not getting their Medicaid right now because of what's going on with government. How is that affecting our families? What are our students going to do? So I think just getting to the root cause of what the issues are. Why are students not reading at the level that they should? Well, half of America isn't. Why are we struggling the way that we are? Well, we're not getting livable wages. We're not getting the mental health support and the resources that we need from the state level. There's more than we can do as a community. And I told my parents I was very grateful for them tonight because they said, I'm glad that we can come to you and not just have a gripe session with you, but also come to you with solutions. Because that's what we're out here, that's a community. We're going to do this, we're going to do this together. So thank you for all the insight. I definitely want to hear what Senator Lamar has to say from the state level as well about that.
Absolutely. I do want to chime in and first add some technicality issues with this whole putting them on the ballot. First and foremost, this could actually be illegal. The decision that they made, so it's going to be held up in court. There will be a decision that's made because right now it's unconstitutional and there is no other school board in the state of Tennessee that has been subjected to this based on their decision making. So all of a sudden we want to bully a black city and no other city in the state of Tennessee with similar testing outcomes. Like we just don't want to set that precedence. Secondly, the school board is nonpartisan. The May election is a partisan election. You're going to the polls in May to vote either Democrat or Republican. Your school board members are not Democrat or Republican. They're a school board member. So the county general election is in August, where they need to stay because that is the general election. So no matter what your political affiliation is, all those people will be on the ballot and you can vote for them there. That is also why we need to keep it the same because of the technical issues. I will also agree. The outcome of your students is probably more on the state than the school board in itself. We are 47th in the nation when it comes to per pupil funding. Out of 50 states in the United States, we are 47 in the amount of money we allocate per child for their education. And it just came out today that the Speaker of the House just said he plans on doubling the voucher program, which means that's an additional $600 million to be a $1.1 billion budget over the next 5 years. What could our children be doing with $1.1 billion instead of sending to private schools? Yes. So we are also trying to hold these folks accountable to a budget that's on a shoestring. It's not fair. So until we can hold the other side accountable to giving our children what they deserve and also invest into these other indicators of a hard life like affordable housing. $65 million was cut this year for affordable housing. They slashed your health care services. We as a community will have to step up and educate our kids ourselves. We're going to have to get back in the community. We're going to have to open up the church doors. We're going to have to open up our homes. If you know there's a single mother on the end of the street who working 2 jobs and trying, if you're a good mom or you retired, keep her babies a night or two. You know, read the ABCs to them. Because we can't continue to blame the system while all of us hold the system accountable. We have the capacity to do what we do for our children in the meantime. So thank you.
State Rep Parkinson.
Okay, thank you. Oh,
Commissioner
Well, if you don't mind, because then we go back to the state. Because you're right, that's again, being the highest level from a funding standpoint. But I want to just stop for a second and tell you we should be talking about processes and not people. Now, what I mean by that, in 5 years, most of us will not be in any of these seats. But what processes do we have in place that can have long-term effect, generational effect for our students? I believe there should be pre-K for every student in Shelby County. Every student. Statistics show that our literacy rates increase when a child has the opportunity to have access to pre-K. I fought for that in our last budget, so that our now chairwoman, Shantae Met, did as well. It didn't pass. I hope we pass it in our next one. I know if I'm in another position, that's the thing I'll be pushing on day one. But I'm talking about things that help change our culture when it comes to that as well. And I get it. It's polarizing topics. I get it. But if we get too much caught up in the people and at the process, it doesn't matter. Because we won't be here, but our children will still be affected. So let's talk about what we put in our classrooms, pre-K for every student. Let's work to that in Shelby County. More mental health resources in every school, because they're not created equal at all. And I'm going to tell you a story, to be real quick, and I've done this and people up here know about this, so I'm talking about experience. I got 3 daughters. I love them all. Love them all. I tell people about my daughter, Mila, who has autism. And we sent her to about 7 different schools in Shelby County. You know why? Because we're blessed to be able to do that. We went to one school and say, nope, that's not a good fit. We go to one school and say, nope, you're not staying there. And we kept doing that. We'll keep doing that. But a lot of people don't have the same wherewithal that we have. They got to go to wherever they're assigned. Maybe that school has resources, maybe they don't. But I see students get passed from grade to grade to grade. I see children go underdiagnosed, misdiagnosed, and even overdiagnosed with medication. Now that's a personal choice. But I've seen people say, you know, little Mikhail, little Ronnie can't sit still, maybe you should take this pill. It's personal choice. But that's because we don't have the resources. All schools aren't created equal. So I want to talk about process. Because even if I'm not in the seat that I want to be in or not this seat, I want there to be processes in place for our students going forward. So don't get too caught up on the people. I get it. It's a polarizing topic. I get it. But let's talk about what process we put in place to best educate our children and make sure their mental health is taken care of.
I was confused. I was confused as to what seat you're talking about. Oh, okay. So look.
Parkinson,
Okay.
I love you.
I love you too. So this is what I want to impress upon you. You know, a lot of people got caught up in personalities, and you know, and you know, I'm siding with this person and I'm siding with that person. But let me lean in so I can give you some information that you may not have had possibly. I was given a graph, a chart by the Department of Health at the state. They laid it on our desk. And I was looking at the graph and they were talking about contributors, or they used another word, I forgot what the word was, to you know, mortality, right? And education was one. And on that graph, they had, you know, it may have changed since then, but they said the literacy rate in Memphis and Shelby County was 30.5%. So 1 out of every 3, something like that, right? Which is dismal, which is bad, which is not good. But then they had the side-by-side comparison of the literacy rate for the state of Tennessee, which was 35.6%. An F minus and an F minus. And so you had, you know, several iterations of the state attempting to take over Shelby County schools. How are you sitting here with an F minus talking about taking over the district that is underperforming just as well? A lot of people didn't realize that state takeover idea didn't just start last year when the other superintendent was in place. It started in 2011, and maybe actually a little bit before that. The first iteration of it was called the Achievement School District. So they came up with this great idea, hey, we're going to take the bottom 5% of schools and move it up to the top 25% in 5 years, right? See how that worked, right? So and the strategy was take 5% at a time, move it over to the state, 5% at a time, move it over to the state. People wasn't catching wind of it, that was an actual takeover strategy. And then after that, there were about 3 iterations of the voucher bill. That also was part of state takeover. And even before the legislation that was presented last year, Representative Mark White had already drafted that legislation and was trying to present that legislation 4 years before that. It didn't just start. And I think it's important for people to know that it did not just start, right? This is something that we've been fighting for a very, very long time. Because one thing about the state of Tennessee, and I'm going to close with this, is that you don't want them in your business. Because they are terrible at almost every single thing that they do. Education, corrections, correct. You don't have to say it, I'll say it for you. and you know, and other things, right? And it's all about privatizing or giving those contracts for that budget that Shelby County Schools has to their friends, and it's about their property portfolio. That's it. There's nothing about educational benchmarks in that takeover legislation. Not one thing. All right, thank you, Dr. Frank.
Thank you, State Representative Parkinson. Councilwoman Logan.
Thank you. Along these same lines, as you heard my colleagues at state level, county level, all have been speaking on education. That's what we're talking about at this moment. And I lean into them, you know, for that information. When he mentions what's happening at the state level that dictates what happens at the local level, we need to listen to that. And I would say, as he said, both sides, one has an F minus, the other has an F minus. So what does that tell you? That regardless of what side is on, we need to be concerned about the results of what's happening with our children, what's happening in education. And, you know, I remember growing up, my mom hosted you remember Reading is Fundamental, that program, Hooked on Phonics, all of those things, and made sure that our children in the community, they know how to read. That's still our responsibility. We can't give it to the government. We can't give it to the school system. If everybody at the government level is appearing to be incompetent in those areas based on what the state rep said, what are we going to do? Are we going to continue to fight to allow them to be at the F minus level? We're just fighting on both sides, and we got to think about what we're doing. Is that helping? We still need our advocates. We still need the government to be doing it. But as Senator Lamar said, we have to do something different. We can't keep doing the same thing. And we have places of faith. We have community centers. We can have Saturday school. But we have to change the narrative. We cannot keep doing the same thing. Because the F minus on one side and the F minus on the other side is failure, regardless of who's doing it. And as he said, the dollar keeps going back and forth, but you keep having a F on both sides. That's nonsense. It doesn't matter the race, the ethnicity, the nationality. If the school or the children are failing, we're failing them.
Thank you so much. This next question is for Chairwoman. When is the effective date for children of Germantown schools to implement their policy of students having to live in the Germantown area to attend Germantown school?
So the school officially closes 4 years from now. So we have about 4 years left to get the new school built. If that doesn't happen by that time, that means that those kids would then be transported to different schools across the district. So that's why it was so important for us to advocate for the funds in order for the East Region School to be built, for the kids in Cordova to have a 21st century school. All of our kids need a 21st century school, but we do have to start somewhere. And I think it would be a disservice for us to say that because those students were attending a school that was in a predominantly white neighborhood, that we should say they have to be transported all across this county because we don't want to deal with this problem. It is important for us to get this school built. You'll be hearing more about that in the next couple of months for us to be able to find a school site. And then it takes about 3 years for the school to be built. And one of the challenges we had, everyone knows that after COVID, everything went up, right? So the cost to build a school 4 years ago at $90 million is $160 million now, okay? So those are also the challenges we're facing because, to be honest, no one wants their taxes raised, right? But if we don't have resources, how do you think we get to all of these things that everyone has said is a problem on this stage? If there are no new revenue sources, I mean, you can't rob Peter to pay Paul, right? And actually, the county has not had a tax increase in the last 18 years. But you think about the rate of inflation over that last 18 years, we're going to have to make some hard decisions that will not be popular. But when you think about the resources needed to do all of the things that we just talked about, the revenue has to come from somewhere. It does have to come from somewhere.
Thank you so much. This question is a two-part, so I'm going to answer two people at one time. Is for you, Chief Buckner. I've seen a lot of police on the streets and the expressway since the president announced the National Guard was to be deployed. Why weren't they visible before the president made his announcement? What exactly is it that the National Guard is doing that the MPD isn't already handling?
All right, so I'll take the first one. So before the National Guard or the federal surge occurred, there were about 48 state troopers in Memphis and Shelby County. And as we talked about earlier, when you take 48 and you spread it out over 3 different shifts, 7 days a week, plus off days and all that stuff, there's a low visibility of troopers on the road at any given time. Now, that number is a sustained 100 troopers in Memphis and Shelby County, but a total of 300 troopers in West Tennessee. So it's going to be, that number probably won't change in terms of 100 troopers being in Memphis and Shelby County. So one of the unique challenges we face, and I don't want to speak directly for the Memphis Police Department, but I can certainly talk about the Sheriff's Office, is that we have a pretty high call volume. And when we have a high call volume, then we're literally running from call to call to call to call, and it leaves very little time to do traffic enforcement. And so with this federal surge, one of the benefits that I've seen immediately is that our call volume is going down or has dropped in some areas. So that now gives us more time to do some traffic enforcement. I think you heard recently where the Memphis Police Department has announced a new traffic unit. Well, again, when call volume goes down, now you can get into some of these other areas. And I can tell you, there are some people that used to call our office quite often about drag racing and just reckless, erratic driving. That has dropped down tremendously in some areas because we have time now to address those particular issues. And so, and what was the second question? I talked so long, I forgot the second.
The National Guard, while
National Guard, while they, so on my way over here, I spoke with the U.S. Marshal that's leading this operation. I asked them again, because some of this information changes hour by hour. And so I asked them, for this hour, what's the assignment of the National Guard? And so far, it's just been visibility. And so the way it's been explained to me, probably tomorrow, you could see the National Guard in the downtown area in the entertainment district. So right now the focus is visibility. Now obviously that can shift to something different next week. But for right now, it's visibility, visibility, visibility.
Thank you so much. This is Chairwoman. We have $100 million coming to Shelby County. Can monies be invested back into our jail to rebuild? And did we receive money for voted lab testing by the DA this year? We have $100 million coming to Shelby County. Can those monies be invested into our jail to rebuild? And did we receive monies for crime voted lab testing by the DA this year?
Okay.
Crime lab.
Okay. So the $100 million is coming to the city of Memphis. Let me be clear about that. Different than the county receiving those resources. So State Representative Parkinson and State Senator Lamar London can share and elaborate on that more. But those dollars are coming to the city of Memphis for public safety. So those are different than resources that the county receives in order for us to be able to do some reform and rebuild in the jail. Again, without a funding source, there is a challenge with us being able to rebuild a jail without a funding source, right? So anything that you do costs money. So if you're gonna go buy the bag of chips from the store, you gotta have money to do that, right? But if the money that we currently have are only taking care of the resources that are currently before us, unless you have another funding source, there's no way to rob Peter to pay Paul. Again, there are no funding sources currently available unless we, as the folks who you have elected us to be, make some very hard decisions about how do we create additional revenue sources to support the things that we need in this community. The crime lab, yes, a portion of the crime lab was supported in this past year's 2026 budget.
Thank you so much, Chairwoman.
Let me add to that. So
Okay.
almost immediately after the governor announced that $100 million was coming to the city of Memphis, we were like, wait a minute, Governor, how about us? And so we've been told by the Commissioner of Safety that about $4 million could come to the sheriff's office. Now, how they're going to prescribe us to spend it, we have yet to see or read or understand that language. But we are pulling and clawing as much as we can to get some of that $100 million. But here's the thing. While we want some at the sheriff's office, we do understand that through this surge that there are other county offices that are affected by it, such as the General Session Court Clerk's office. And so we try to include them in the conversation. Hopefully we'll be able to pull some dollars for them as well. But as I heard Commissioner Lowry talk earlier about rehabilitation within the jail, we do need a new jail, and we certainly need to modernize the one that we have now. I had an opportunity to go into the jail and sit through one of the many programs that we have that's designed to rehabilitate our detained population. But here's what I recognize. I consider myself a pretty intelligent person. But as I sat through this program, there were so many environmental distractions within the facility. So if someone made an announcement over PA, that announcement would echo off all the walls. I found it very difficult for me to pay attention to the curriculum that was being put in front of the detained people. And so when they built the jail, it was back in the late 70s, and rehabilitation was not the mindset of those who were designing the jail. And so we certainly need to upgrade. We don't know how long it'll take to get a new jail, but the jail that exists today, we have to modernize it so that we can put good curriculum that's designed to rehabilitate our detained population. The way I always look at it is the jail is the ER for the morally and spiritually sick. And so the question becomes, what do we do with them while they're in the ER? And so we're going to continue to fight and argue and beg and plead with the state to get us the dollars that we need to rehabilitate those who we're charged with rehabilitating today.
Well, keep that in mind. Okay, you
I
want to
just want to
say
add something about the $100 million. I don't want people to think that like he gifted us $100 million. It was already allocated in the budget. But if you looked at the Senate chamber, the finance chair was like, well, Memphis getting all this money, it's time we send that money to other cities who need crime prevention grants. So the money was already there. And it was going to other cities across Tennessee. We was only getting a little bit. So all of a sudden now when Trump wanted to bring all his folks down to Memphis, then we got that money back. Right, we'll take it, right? Don't get me wrong, we'll take it. But like, I don't want to make it seem like, oh, we're getting $100 million investment that's coming. No, they weren't trying to give us that money, and all of a sudden, with everything coming, it's coming back. And no, we can't use that money for the jail. Now, we did try to pass a legislation to push for a temporary amount of time, push the sales tax from 0.92, and thanks to Commissioner Lowry for giving me the exact numbers, to 10%. The legislature voted it down, and it will be up to 10% for maybe 2 to 3 years to pay for the jail. So it'll be about a 0.08 tax increase for a short amount of time to pay for this $1 billion jail. Y'all, the jail is the third oldest jail in the country. In the country. It is literally falling apart. And we talk about getting all these criminals across the street, but you can't take them to the jail because that's also unethical, and you can't fit nobody in there. It's literally falling apart. So I would encourage you, and as many of our legislators on this side, on the east side of Memphis and Shelby County, who did not support us in this effort to get that money, when you go to the polls in 2026, or you talk to Tim before we go back to session in January, ask them to support that legislation so the county commission have what they need to build a new jail.
And let me just piggyback on the senator also. I think she brought up a great point, and the point is that y'all have no idea what we deal with up there, right? You know, everything is directed at Shelby County, punitively, right? Everything is directed at Shelby County of stripping it of monies, you know, and so this I think it was 167 million, wasn't it? That we put in the budget. Was it 175? Yeah, somewhere in that space. It wasn't just coming to us. It was to be spread amongst, you know, all of the counties across the state. Now keep in mind, watch this. We are the largest contributor to the state coffers. Your tax dollars, we add more money into the state coffers than anyone else. Davis, Nashville too, we add more money than anyone else, right? But but they're always trying to see how they can take what we provide in tax dollars and subsidize all these rural communities that are 30 cents away from having a quarter. So I want y'all to think about that, right? And then, thank God, right? You know, in order to make sure that I guess he's staying in the good graces of the president, you know, he shifted some of that money here to Memphis, $100 million of it. And I know we're going to hear it when we get back to session in January. We're going to have to deal with this, and some of the other things we may be asking for, they're going to use that as an argument. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Buckner, I'm going to give you three people's questions, because I think some of them are overlapping.
So this is the hot seat, right?
Yeah, you got it. That's why I wanted you close to about it. What's the percentage of arrests of people of color? What about the traffic stops and violations? What's the percentages? What is being done about racial profiling? And I will say, if you do not know these, I do have their email address. I will ask that you send it back to me. We can't email them on that one, okay? How has the relaxation of gun laws constitutional and the of local gun laws be effective law enforcement, and does the change impact Memphis and Shelby County differently than it affects any other larger cities in Tennessee? Will it be random search warrants and stops because the people are starting to express concern and fear?
Well, I'm going to try to remember all of those questions. Let's go with the first one. I think the percentage of people of color who've been arrested. So obviously, I don't have that data with me. What I can tell you, I see the reports daily on the arrests, and I know upwards of 90% of the arrests are people of color. What's been done about racial profiling? So because you have so many different agencies that's participating, I think it's probably 22 different federal agencies and 13 different state agencies that's affiliated or part of this operation. And in addition to your local law enforcement, we all have our own different policies and procedures. One of the things that we have done as the sheriff's office is try to make sure that the officers that are conducting traffic stops and things of that nature are wearing body cameras, and that we are embedding supervisors within the teams that are going out each and every day. And so that's our particular strategy, but when it comes to some of these other agencies, they have their own policies. Some have body cameras, some don't have body cameras. But that's what we're doing here at the sheriff's office. And read that one again, guys.
I got it. Good handwriting. How has the relaxation of the gun laws and local gun laws been effective law enforcement? Does it change the impact of Memphis and Shelby County differently than it affects larger cities in Tennessee?
Okay, so the impact on law enforcement has obviously made our job more dangerous. I've been doing this for 24 years, and I can go back many moons ago when I started. It was rare that we would seize a weapon 20 years ago, and if you did, it was, you were celebrating. But nearly every vehicle that these officers are stopping today, there is some type of weapon inside of that, and if it's not, they have to approach it as if it is. And so that's a direct reflection of the relaxation of the gun laws. And so as much as we possibly could do here in Shelby County, I know the legislators were along with us, asking and begging the governor to keep some type of permit process in place and not just let anyone carry a weapon. Obviously, we were unsuccessful in that, but it certainly made this job more dangerous. But then also, I think it made our communities more dangerous because guns are just rampant. I mean, you can go inside of a grocery store and see someone, with a gun on them. And that's something that we didn't see 15, 20 years ago. And so that's something that we have to train our officers on now, because one thing people don't understand is that we can't just randomly stop people even if they have a gun, right? So sometimes people call us and say, there are two guys walking down the sidewalk with a gun. Well, 20 years ago, we probably could address that. But today, we can't, because there has to be some other kind of law that's broken that allow us to engage that individual. So that's unfortunate, and we'll continue to fight the fight as best we can. What was that third one?
About the percentages.
Okay, let's see. I answered that one. There's another one about percentages.
Yeah, people are in fear about the random search warrants. Remember that? Will it be random search warrants and stops because the people are starting to express fear.
So as it relates to search warrants, particularly with homes, all search warrants have to go through the judicial process. An officer has to go before a judge and swear that the drugs that was purchased from a home was purchased, by an officer witnessing that. So all of that's signed off on by a judge. Searches that occur on the side of the road, you have the option, if an officer does not articulate a legal reason why they want to search your vehicle, you have the option of whether you allow that officer to search your vehicle or not. So no matter what this surge brings in terms of federal agencies, your rights as a citizen, your Fourth Amendment rights against illegal searches and seizures has not changed. Doesn't matter whether it's the federal government or whether it's local government, you still have the rights against illegal searches and seizures.
Thank you so much, Chief Buckner. State Rep, who do we speak to regarding child care so child care providers can provide education and all available resources to parents so that we can decrease mental health and crimes? It starts from our babies.
It absolutely does. I'm trying to look around and see who asked that question. I'm just kidding. So first of all, so everyone knows, our Tennessee, oh, is it you? Okay, I got you. I won't look at you, I'll look over here. Okay, so our Tennessee Department of Human Services is who has the oversight over child care facilities in our state. And the Department of Human Services is sitting on about $800 million. And we've been wrestling with the Department of Human Services to actually utilize that money for the people that actually need it and for the people that they are supposed to be serving. It's been a challenge. It's been a fight. Also, when you factor in the fact that under the bill that was passed by Congress and the President last year, a lot of those services are being reduced. So SNAP benefits, which falls under the Department of Human Services, and all of those benefits that are associated and tied to that, they are being reduced. And what they're telling the states is, you are going to have to make up the difference. Now, I just told y'all how good the state is at some of the stuff that they do. So you can imagine what things are going to be like once they have to start kicking in their amount of the money to make up the difference that was lost in the president's bill.
Thank you so much, State Rep. School Board Commissioner Ote, will funds be allocated to after-school activities that will allow students an opportunity to participate in extracurricular activities, encourage them to stay off the streets?
Thank you for that question. I just came from a conference in Atlanta, and they were telling us about some alternative funds that we can go after. Some of those programs that we lost were due to ESSER funds. We no longer have those funds. Those funds were given to us during COVID, and so those funds are now being depleted, and now we have to find other avenues and other ways of getting additional funding to pour into our after-school programs, because of course most crimes that happen amongst a juvenile youth happens after school hours. And so that we are advocating. I'm a former educator and a former athlete. I used to bobsled for the U.S., so I'm all about extracurricular activities and sports. So nobody advocates harder for that than me. And so also talking to some of our local businesses like FedEx and Blue, and they can all support too. Like say those are all organizations that can support towards after-school activities. So to answer your question, yes, we're advocating very, very hard to ensure that we get additional funding for after-school programs.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Amen, Cordova has a high school. What is wrong with the current high school? What is going to happen to that property?
Cordova High School is going to stay in place. The reason that there will not be students enrolled at that high school is already at capacity. They have over 2,000.
Busting out the seams.
Yeah, 2,000. It's about 2,300 students that are at the current Cordova school. So you can't put another 2,100 students in a school that is already at capacity. So that's why there was a need to advocate with what we're calling the East Region School.
Thank you so much, Chairwoman. Does anybody on here, any one person can answer this? Because I want to make sure we get through everybody's questions. We are talking about crime in Tennessee, why is in Shelby County, Memphis, allowing out-of-town investors purchase all the homes you want? Okay, Parkinson, hold on. You ready? You want me? All right, Jesus. Okay, y'all, we're going to try this again for Parkinson on church, so that people can hear the whole question. We are talking about crime in Memphis, Tennessee. Why is Memphis allowing out-of-town investors to purchase all the homes, raising the rent, paying $2,000 to live in a home that was $800 in Whitehaven 3 years ago? It is contributing to the crime. We cannot afford to live. We need rent-free like New York City.
I don't think New York City has rent-free. They have rent control.
Rent-free.
Right. Oh, rent-freeze. Oh, okay. Well, okay. All right. That's a little bit different. Okay, so man, I did not plant this question, just so y'all know. You know, I feel like it's an alley-oop. I literally was in a meeting with some individuals a couple days ago, and you know, like give credit where credit is due, right? You know, one of the individuals works in Senator Blackburn's office, right? Yeah, I'm a Democrat, so y'all don't run me off for race and pitchforks. But if there's an opportunity for my people, you know, we gonna take this opportunity. So you know, they brought some people, and they asked me to come to the meeting. They brought some individuals that want to build 12,000 homes in Memphis and Shelby County in 12 years. So that's about 1,000 homes per year, and at an average price of about $230,000, right? $240,000. I asked them that very question. You know, I said, what is going to stop the hedge fund owners from coming in and buying up your entire portfolio, which will stop or not allow an individual that is locally here to be able to own and occupy? And they gave me an answer, and it sounded good. And I'm not saying that they're not being honest, but this issue is a real and serious issue, and it's not just in Memphis. It's pervasive across the entire country. And you know, think about it, right? Somebody, you have to have some moral or issue with morals, with morality, to come up with this strategy to buy up all of the housing in a community and then control exactly how much it costs for someone to have a roof over their head. Now, what that does is this. It creates a false inflation, right? Because the rent prices go up, and they're not selling these homes, they're renting these homes. Your neighborhoods become transitional neighborhoods, right, with little to no home ownership, which means that a lot of times when someone is renting, they're not caring as much about the facilities as the homeowner would. Also, the owners in most cases live out of state, right? And so that contributes to it also. The businesses that employ people then have to raise their pay up so someone can afford to live here, which in turn causes the product prices to be elevated that the consumers have to pay for. So it creates this false inflation. I ran legislation a year ago that said if the rent to owner occupied ratio tips or gets into a threshold that would cause concern, the county executive body, or legislative body rather, the county commission and the city council for the city could then toggle the switch to make it so that they can freeze any outside hedge fund owners of individuals buying portfolios. My Republican colleagues didn't understand it. It was a little bit too much for them, right? And so, but I'm bringing that legislation back in January because if we are going to get this infusement of 12,000 new homes built in Memphis and Shelby County, we want to ensure that local people can buy the homes. I didn't clap start because y'all need to be quiet out there.
Thank you, State Representative. Absolutely.
It is not a Memphis problem. Affordable housing is a nationwide problem. So as we think about the ways that we can empower ourselves and just even our local communities, for those of you who have homeowner associations, y'all need to get busy about how you think about your articles of incorporation, right? So that you make sure that folks who come into your communities cannot rent to folks who don't live in those communities. So there are things that you all can do and be empowered in your own community. So I really encourage you, if that isn't something that you all have talked about in your own homeowner associations, go back and do it. Because those are things that you don't want to happen, is that you have more renters living in your community than you do homeowners.
Thank you.
Dr. Franklin.
Absolutely.
I just want to say, my babysitter is calling me.
You better
I
go.
just want to say thank you for the opportunity to all those who came. Thank you so much. Cordova isn't in my district, but it's adjacent. So if there's anything you need, call Senator Lamar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Lamar. And we'll see you next week today. All right, y'all. So now I would ask the panel, let's make sure we answer our questions in less than 3 minutes, because I really want to get these questions out. And I want to make sure we be respectful of each and every one of you our time. And I thank you in advance. This is to the panel, so whomever wants to grab it. I applaud the sheriff and police for making arrests. But how do we address the judges and the court system for providing low bonds for felonies that allow criminals back on the street? Chief, you grab that? All right, come on.
So I think it was last July, help me out, Rep, where the state law changed as it relates to the bond conditions and what could be considered. Was it last July before that? July 24, I think. Okay. So there were some bond conditions that changed. I think it was July 24, where before a judge was asked to consider an individual's ability to pay for a bond in order to grant bond. And I think it changed where that consideration was removed from bond conditions. The reason I know it is our jail population increased by 400 or 500 after it changed. Go ahead. Yes, community safety has to be the priority. So some changes have already occurred as it relates to the bond conditions. Now, I can tell you for the sheriff's office, we recently hired a jail population manager, a retired judge, Bobby Carter, to sit down and meet with the judges to help expedite and move some of these cases on. I think right now, one study I saw said that it takes on average about 4 years to resolve a case in Memphis and Shelby County. And so that's a long time for a person to sit in jail. Right now, we have 2 individuals who are still in jail, who have been in jail since 2016. And so, now imagine, 2016, this is a pretrial facility. This is not a state prison. This is a pretrial facility, 2016. And so, Judge Carter is meeting now, trying to convene all of these justice-involved individuals in terms of the clerk's office, the judges, to explain to them, one, what does it look like for the jail? Well, here it is, 201 Poplar, a facility that's designed, really, we only have about 2,400 certified beds. 2,400 certified beds. We have about 2,800 beds, 400 of them are not certified. And over the weekend, we had reached a population that was north of 2,900 people. We're way over capacity, right? So we got to start moving these cases. We got to start resolving these cases. If these individuals need to move on to the state penitentiary, the cases must be resolved. And so there are things that are happening behind the scenes to try to convene all of these individuals to help them understand or better understand what the issues are. And I'll give you one simple one. An example that was presented to me, an individual comes to court and says, I want to plead guilty, but I want to talk to my mama first. Why does it take a 30-day reset? You should be able to go in the back, call mama, tell them what you're about to do, come back in court and plead guilty. That's what you want to do. It shouldn't take 30 days later coming back to court. So little small things like that backs up the justice system, it backs up our jail. So these are things that are happening behind the scenes, but when that bail conditions are bumped, you did say keep it down to 3 minutes.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm preaching that.
All right. That's it, man.
Thank you, sir. Come on. Okay.
I want to say something about that too, and you all can correct me, anybody up here if I'm not mistaken, but we discussed that, and I found out, I did not know that before a lot of them go before the judge, they see a coordinator, judicial coordinator or a magistrate, and those decisions are made prior to seeing the judge. And we need to be mindful of who we are voting for, to make certain that they're putting the right people in these positions, because those positions dictate a lot of times whether they get a bond or not. Can you speak to that as well?
Yeah, so pretrial services, they're the ones that kind of do that initial evaluation to determine if an individual needs to go before a judge prior to arraignment or not. And so a lot of individuals now that are coming into our facility, they are charged with violent crimes. So they would automatically have to go to see a judge before they could be released anyway. Talking about this federal surge, when I'm looking at the warrants, a lot of them are for homicide, robbery, rape, aggravated assault. Those charges, when we see those, we know that those individuals are probably going to be with us for quite some time. So you're right, Councilwoman, we do have to make sure that we are looking at who we elect at all positions, not just sheriff and mayor and all these other positions, but also your judges. We got to make, and your state officials, we got to do our research, do our homework, because again, 4 years to resolve a case, that's way too long.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Franklin.
Yeah.
And not only that, there are antiquated processes that's been in Tennessee forever, and the systems are not talking. Yes. And so that's a huge gap that's there as well. And as Commissioner said, it's bigger than what we can really see and really understand. Because if the systems are not talking, if MPD has arrested someone, or the sheriff department has arrested someone that has committed a hideous crime, and this is not their first time, or this is not their second time, and then they see the judicial court, they don't even have the records knowing what this person has done. So when you see these low bonds happening, that's because there is a gap in communication, and the systems doesn't talk. So we got to always remember, sometimes it's just not the individual you're fighting systems that are very old, that are not up to date, that is causing a lot of hiccups in our system. We saw one. The murderer got out. Just a pure hiccup. So we got to think about those things as well. Memphis is not, we need to catch up on systems. And we see that. And we see that happening. So there's a lot of levels and a lot of things that are going on that are missing. And I think this fighter that's sitting up here right now is really, really adamant about making it work, fixing it, because we all won't be here forever.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Otay, thank you for taking care of the needs of that parent. So you can go ahead. She's going to step out for a minute. She has a parent that needs her out front, and I'm just so grateful that she's personal enough to take care of the parents. Will the arrested be released as usual or kept locked up until prosecuted? What changes will we see once all the extras have left Memphis? Who answered it? That's a DA question.
Yeah, I don't think we're qualified.
Okay.
Maybe above our pay grade.
Okay.
But, there are different law enforcement systems. The judicial system itself is a very complex beast. I'll say that. And so when you're talking about pretrial services, you're talking about the DA's office, you're talking about the public defender's office, you're talking about General Sessions Court clerk. There are a lot of different people who are involved in that process. And so I think it is a great follow-up question that we can make sure gets to the DA's office in order for us to be able to answer that question.
Absolutely. What I'll do, I'll text DA Morrow this question tonight and see if we get an answer, and I'll put it on the Moving Memphis Forward Facebook page.
And I'll say this last thing. What's going to be left, you still have a Shelby County Sheriff's Office. You still have a Memphis Police Department. And we were already doing the work. Don't get me wrong, this is really exacerbated. It's helped us out because there's more boots on the ground. But we have been able to reduce crime in unincorporated Shelby County by 21% before the surge ever occurred. And I want to say Memphis police were, and maybe the councilwomen can give those specific numbers, but I think they're 20% as well.
13% in regular crimes and 17% I think in violent crimes. They were already down.
So things were already working before the federal surge happened. Those strategies will continue long after these individuals, these services are gone. So you're still going to have a sheriff's office and a police department that's going to be here in the city, homegrown.
Thank you so much. We are required to have auto insurance, but what about the vehicles that are inoperable at the moment? I have valid tags, but not driving it due to mechanical issues. I canceled the insurance, but I received a letter about $200. You wanna? Okay. We are required to have auto insurance, but what about the vehicles that are inoperable? At the moment, I have valid tags and not driving it due to mechanical issues.
Yeah, I think that that's a valid argument. That may be one for you.
Well,
you know, if you're not driving the vehicle, if the vehicle is not.
Yeah, so I recently had a similar issue in my personal life, and my insurance is through USAA, and they have policies for that type of scenario. So one thing I would refer you back to is your insurance company, just tell them, what your issue is, and they may be able to find a policy that will address that. But one thing I do want to talk about real quick is about vehicle registration. Now, I've been a law enforcement officer for 24 years, and my knucklehead nephew got a citation from the Mississippi Highway Patrol because his tags had been out 2 years. And I asked him, I said, well, Tyler, why didn't you update your tag? He said, well, I didn't know you had to get tags every year. Please, ma'am, please, sir, if you have a young person that's just starting to drive, let them know that you have to update your tags every single year. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, let me add a little moment of transparency to that too. So I would, I'm in Nashville also, and they towed my car in Nashville. This is last week. They towed my car in Nashville, and in order to get my car out, my tags had to be up to date. I did not realize that my tags were out of date on my car. I honestly did not. Look how scared looking. I did not.
Put the pen on.
Right. And so I had to call back here and get my daughter to go get the title to the car and take a picture of it, send it to me, so I can at least get the car from the junkyard, from where it was towed to. And I did get the car back here. But sometimes those things do. I have multiple cars, and sometimes I don't know how that one. I just missed it, right? Now, but what I did do also though is I called the clerk's office to see, how to get registered, right? And I couldn't. I wanted to do it online. That's normally where I do it, and I apparently missed the letter. Right, and so one of the things I did ask the governor, not just for my behalf, but for everyone, because these lines are double and triple now what they were, is to open up the online portal so that people can, register their vehicles online and make it convenient. It should never ever be a burden for the people to be in compliance with the laws that we create for them. Where's the class started? Okay, there you go. Okay. Do I need to say it again? I'm just kidding. But so that's what we're working on right now. I'm waiting on an answer from the governor.
Thank you, State Rep. Can you explain why we are narrating an authorization of federal occupation of a Democratic city, a majority black city, as a surge? That is a good thing. And if we want safety, are we saying that crime reduction enhances safety? How are we addressing the social conditions driving our neighbors to crime? You may as well go ahead and jump on it.
Okay, read it one more time so I can make sure I answer it correctly.
Can you explain why we are narrating authorization of federal occupation of a Democratic city, a majority black city, as a surge?
Okay.
Yes,
I got it.
all right.
Okay. So one is, we're calling it what it is. It is literally a surge of federal law enforcement officials that are coming into the city of Memphis. That's what it is. So that's why if you hear me say a surge, that's what it is. It is not the narrative of the National Guard. The National Guard is the most minuscule part of this federal surge, right? Let me be clear. I know myself and others up here have stated that we did not ask for this, well, the National Guard portion of it. We did not request it. That's fully at the governor's behest and the president. That's something that they worked out. And as a matter of fact, the governor was even on the record with not wanting to bring the National Guard into the city of Memphis. Now, let's talk about the federal surge. Let's talk about the other people, the alphabets. The support at the federal level has been requested way before this. People local, the mayor has requested federal support and resources. That could be in the form of money, this, that, and other, and so on and so forth. The governor had requested federal resources way before this in the form of money or, help with, undergirding, the amount of individuals from Memphis Police Department that they were missing. I think they were, so I think to be a full complement for the city of Memphis, I think it is 2,800? 2,600, 2,500, 25, I should have looked at you first, Councilwoman. 2,500 officers, and I think we were down with 400 to 600 officers. Am I correct? Okay. And so there are individuals in leadership positions, not just at the state level, but at the local level also, have requested federal support and additional federal resources because the number one constituency concern, no matter where you're going, I can't even go to the bathroom without somebody saying, hey, what are y'all going to do about crime? And it's okay. We want to do something about the crime. So we're not changing the narrative. We're just calling it exactly what it is. It is a surge of federal officials. And the National Guard part is, I think, it's the wrong narrative because there's not going to be many National Guard members here, and most of them are from Memphis. So I hope that answers the question.
All right, thank you. Thank you all so much. What I would like for everybody to give your contact information so that if you're out there in the community and you want to ask a question or maybe you have something that comes to your mind later on, we want to make sure that you're connected. And so we'll start with you, Councilwoman Yolanda Cooper-Sutton, and then we'll just come down and we'll roll from there. Give your contact information.
My contact information is, my email is yolanda.coopersutton@memphis10.gov. And the number is what? To the office is 901-636. I don't know, I never call it. Hold on. I don't have to call it, so I can give it to you right quick. And then I have some cards. Even though I do not, I'm not in Cordova, but.
Yolanda, why did she spell your name? Sis?
All right, it's YOLANDA .Cooper COOPER SUTTON, one word, at Memphis10 Memphis10.gov. And the contact number is 901-636-7016. And I do answer every email and every call.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Lowry.
All right, a couple things. So you can reach me via email, mckel.lowry@shelbycountytn.gov. It's long, so I can leave some cards out for you, take a picture and all that kind of good stuff. The phone number, 901-222-1000, 901-222-1000, or call me on my cell phone, 901-623-9022. 901-623-9022, that's my cell phone number.
Thank you. Councilwoman Logan.
Rhonda Logan. My email is Rhonda, RHONDA.Logan, LOGAN, at memphistn.gov. My cell number is 901-229-5053.
State Rep.
Thank you. My contact information, my email address is 5611 letters long. So let me give you this. Follow me on all social media at TN Rep, R-E-P, Parkinson, TN Rep, Parkinson. And my number, this number is 901-240-8636. 901-240-8636. And I'm some of y'all, I'm your state representative, so you should add this number anyway. I see the smiles. Thank you for the smiles.
Thank you so much. Chief Buckner, you want to give the contact?
Listen, I'm so fortunate to have my executive assistant who's a member of this church. Will you wave your hand? And while you're waving, can you tell me what your extension is? 901-222-5593. That's Tequila Phillips. So if you need to get my email address, it's 50 million letters long. She can give you that as well.
Chairwoman?
My church too, so I don't want to, this is my home church. And I want to thank our pastor, Cedric Taylor, for allowing us to have this discussion here tonight. And thank you to all of you who came out. It means a lot when people are engaged in the process. If you don't actually take time to ask questions or try to seek out information, it really is easy not to be a part of the solutions. So I really do want to thank all of you who took time out of your very busy schedules to come and have a conversation with us tonight. My contact information is Shante.Avant, and that's SHANTE.ABANT@ShelbyCountyTNGOV. And my cell phone number is 901.gov. Yes, thank you. My cell phone number is 901-219-7204.
Thank you so much. Want to make this announcement. Next week, as you may or may not know, every single Thursday this month, I have a different Moving Memphis Forward in different communities. Next week, we'll be at Faithful Baptist Church on Flynn Road. 5:30, we have another great panel of leaders will be there to answer your questions. And so every Thursday, if you don't know, make sure you register, and we will send you an email telling you where we're going to be, because it's imperative that the community know what's going on. I thank you so much. If you need anything of me to help you, of course, I'm at Talisa Franklin on all channels. My phone number is open book 901-281-6337. I want to say personally, thank you again, Pastor, for allowing this. Can we give the pastor another round of applause, y'all? We didn't have to do this. And can you give yourself a round of applause? We're so grateful for all the community. So what we're going to do now, because Sherman Brown wrote a song, Live and Survive in Memphis. He's going to hype y'all up as you leave, but the pastor's going to pray. Before you talk to anybody, allow us to take a quick picture, and then we can move on. So pastor's going to pray. After he prayed, everybody in the panel move to the left. We're going to get a group picture. Then that we're literally, as we say, dismissed from church. And Sherman Brown has a song called Live and Survive in Memphis. Thank you, Sherman Brown, that has a story that you love Memphis and hype us all the way up so we be inspired. Did y'all enjoy this? Was this good information for you tonight? I pray that you really get this and tell somebody in another portion of the city, if they missed this, they need to make sure they're at the next one, right? So they can get their questions answered. Thank y'all so much.
Dr. Franklin, before they go, can y'all give it up for Talisa Franklin, please? She's working hard on here. Thank you for that. She is working really, really hard on here. Thank you, Dr. Franklin.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to serve. Pastor, can you pray us? Give us a word from the Lord.
Amen. Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us to come together tonight. We thank you, Father, for those in leadership in our city. We thank you for their commitment to serve. We thank you, Father, for the constituents, the city, the people of this city. We thank you, Father, for the people of this community. And we ask you, Lord, continue to bind us together and make us one. Lord, we can do it. If we trust you and work together, we can do it. So, Lord, just let the Holy Spirit still be on us and with us and guiding us in every possible way. And we know, God, that we have the victory because we trust you for it. And we know when we trust you, God, we have the answer. We thank you. We give you praise. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Commissioner Love, jump up here with us, and then we're going to take this picture.
Hey, y'all love Memphis? Say live and survive in Memphis. Say live and survive in Memphis. Live and survive in Memphis. All right, live and survive in Memphis. To live and survive in Memphis. I don't care what you say about Memphis, it's the only place to be. To live and survive in Memphis, where we did, we out here chasing the dollar, we got a hustle for the bag. South Bend we shopping. 901 had the hustle hard currency chasing. I got shot in the mouth. It was pain I'm making. I shed tears everywhere, brothers close to heart. We lost Dolphin, got me close to God. Cold hearted from the day we lost Martin Luther King. To the laws, he wasn't blind to a broken man dream. A heartless and Graceland and there was president. 201 popped it up, got my cousin stressed. It cost me more to be free than a life in the pen, making money. New construction, I made it again. From Zebo to John Morant, Lord knows my fan. Home game, course, he's for good, brother, my man. What's the worst they can do to the city? We didn't walk through hell. So they were surviving Memphis on bills.
Everybody wanna see to live and survive in Memphis. It's the place to be. You got to be it to know it. Everybody wanna see.
It's the home of the blues. BB King was singing from barbecue to rock and roll. We in the Hall of Fame. Bullets rolling like a soap opera. On the curb, I watched 3-6 win the Oscar. I observed so many brothers getting 3 strikes, tossed in jail. Police on the horse across the field. I can't cry, cause it's home now. From South Memphis down to Forest Mountain, North Memphis, Thug style. Raleigh up now, fighting with these letters, with these politicians. It was they had it hard in Memphis. I had to understand the dress code to get some cheese. I watched God and put the city on with CMG. I love Memphis like I love women. Cause every brother in Memphis got a little bit of thug in them. We might fight amongst each other, but I promise you this, we in the city will be coming to live. To live and survive in Memphis. Let's go. Let's go. Check it out, y'all. Check it out. Check it out. This would be Memphis without the Mexican. Black love, brown pride. We are blessed to win. We got love for the church. I'll bring up in the pulpit. Memphis Cyber, Derrick Rose, and Kenny Hardaway. Ride through Memphis with MLK. The whole city outside when it's Memphis in May. Isaac Hayes spoke hard. Homie, love your hood. Respect the woman and it's all good. If you believe that, it be a better turnout. Level 2, we used to go to was burnt out. Growing up, drink daddy from the city. It's a lot to learn. Read the Frank to show the word. You gonna respect the one. Nobody needs nobody. Play a private beat. Morgan Freeman, 8-ball, the homie MJG. Gangsta Black Killer, Sheriff Grover, Hero 2. For everybody in the city, know this one's for you. I know God level with it. You show me the way. Shelby County, the city I pray to live survive. I love this city, man. It's my city, right? Hey, you gotta do one thing to get it right. Let's talk about this right quick. It's our city. Let's bring it right. Let's get it. Look at all these amazing things you're doing right. Don't listen to the media, listen to the facts. We see what's going on in the city. We see things going on, feelings going up, and people getting prosperity, people all over the hills, living lives right now. You know what I'm talking about. Hey, pay attention to the positive. Watch it grows. Kill all negative, right? Though you've been talking about it and breathing.